For a long time, Aderon believed stability was permanent. She believed it because she had worked for it, because her home had always stood, because people still greeted her with warmth, because her children lacked nothing, because problems, when they came, usually belonged to other people. So when the first signs appeared, she dismissed them. A delayed payment here, a business promise postponed there, a friend who suddenly stopped returning calls. Nothing alarming, nothing worth worry. Her husband assured her it would pass. He always did. She accepted his reassurance because it sounded like the truth she wanted. But stability does not collapse all at once. It loosens. The business he depended on began to struggle. A partnership dissolved quietly, without drama, without warning. Income thinned. Expenses did not. Aderon adjusted small things first, cutting back on extras, postponing plans. She complained occasionally, but only in controlled spaces. Then came the whispers. A woman she once greeted warmly now greeted her cautiously. An invitation she expected did not come. A meeting she was confident about ended strangely. Something had shifted in the air. The social scandal did not arrive as a storm. It arrived as a rumor. Soft, shapeless, but persistent. Questions about money, about integrity, about things best not discussed openly. Adeon laughed when she first heard it. She said, "People talk," dismissively. But people listened too. Trust eroded, support retreated. Doors that once opened easily now hesitated. And then the financial ruin became undeniable. Bills stacked. Accounts emptied faster than they filled. The comfort she had taken for granted began to slip from her hands. Her children noticed first. Why can't we get this anymore? Why are things different? Aderon snapped more often now. Irritation clung to her like heat. Inside her house, tension replaced ease. The same walls that once felt like proof of success now felt oppressive. Quiet no longer meant order. It meant worry. And for the first time in a long while, Aderon felt something unfamiliar. Helplessness. She reached out to friends. Some offered sympathy but no solutions. Others avoided the conversation entirely. Help, she discovered, was expensive, emotionally, socially, and financially. Then came the final blow. A public embarrassment. Not loud, not dramatic, but impossible to ignore. A loss of face that no explanation could fully repair. She stayed indoors for days afterward. Her house, still standing, no longer felt like shelter. It felt like evidence. That was when she realized something terrifying. She needed help. Not advice, not encouragement. Help. But the kind she needed could not be bought easily. It required trust, discretion, and effort, things she no longer inspired. Desperation humbles people in strange ways. One evening, while sorting through old documents in frustration, Aderon paused. A thought surfaced uninvited. A girl. A small bag. A closed gate. She shook her head, irritated by the memory. That was long ago, she told herself, and irrelevant. But the thought lingered. Somewhere deep within her, buried under justification and time, something stirred uneasily.
Aderon did not recognize help when it first arrived. She almost ignored it. It came in the form of a recommendation, passed quietly through someone she barely spoke to anymore. A contact, a possibility, nothing guaranteed, just a name mentioned without ceremony. "She's discreet," the woman said. "She helps people sort through difficult situations, especially when things are delicate." Delicate was a polite word for desperate. Aderon hesitated. Pride still clung stubbornly to her bones. But pride did not pay bills. Pride did not erase rumors. Pride did not rebuild what had been broken. So she agreed. The meeting was arranged without fanfare. No public plays, no audience. Just a modest office space that felt intentionally neutral, neither intimidating nor impressive. Aderon arrived early. She always did.
Control was easier when she arrived first. When the door opened, she looked up and frowned slightly. The woman who walked in was young but not unsure, simply dressed, calm. Her presence did not demand attention, yet it held it effortlessly. She carried herself like someone who had learned patience, not from comfort, but from necessity. "Good afternoon," the woman said politely. "Thank you for coming." Aderin nodded curtly. "Let's begin." The conversation was unsettling. Not because it was difficult, but because it was efficient. The woman listened more than she spoke, asked questions that cut through confusion without accusing, suggested steps that made sense, offered connections that did not feel transactional. And most strangely of all, she did not judge. Aderin noticed that. No raised eyebrows, no subtle lectures, no pity, just competence. By the end of the meeting, Aderin felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. "Your situation isn't impossible," the woman said calmly. "It will take time and humility, but it's manageable." Humility. The word stung slightly. Still, Aderin agreed to proceed. Over the next weeks, help continued to come, quietly. Arrangements were made, reputation softened, certain doors reopened just enough. The pressure eased, not completely, but noticeably. And each time, the woman remained professional. Kind, reserved. She never spoke of cost beyond what was necessary. She never leveraged Aderin's vulnerability. She never reminded her of how far she had fallen. That, more than anything, unsettled Aderin. "Why are you helping me like this?" she asked one day, suspicion creeping into her voice. The woman smiled gently. "Because people deserve help when they're trying." It sounded simple. Too simple. Something about her voice tugged at a memory Aderin didn't want to examine. A cadence, a quiet steadiness, a familiarity she could not place. Weeks turned into months. The worst passed. Stability, fragile but real, returned. Aderin began to breathe again. And then one afternoon, as they reviewed documents together, something small happened. Aderin dropped her pen. The woman bent to pick it up. As she handed it back, their fingers brushed briefly, and Aderin froze. Not because of the touch, but because of the scar she saw on her wrist, thin, old, unmistakable. A scar from broken glass, from a cup. A memory surged forward, uninvited and sharp. A kitchen, a crash, a child kneeling to pick pieces. Aderin's breath caught. The woman noticed. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. That question. The same one asked years ago on a roadside bench. Aderin stared at her. The pieces began to shift, slowly, reluctantly. "Your name," Aderin heard, her voice unsteady. The woman hesitated. Not long, just enough. "Lami," she said. The room went quiet. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that carries weight. Recognition did not arrive gently. It crashed.
Aderin's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The name echoed in her head, not as a sound, but as a weight. Lami. A name she had not spoken in years. A name she had convinced herself no longer belonged to her story. Yet here it was, standing in front of her, calm, capable, whole. "You," Aderin began, then stopped. Lami watched her carefully. Not with accusation, not with triumph, just attention, the kind reserved for moments that matter. "I know you," Aderin said finally. The room felt suddenly smaller. Lami nodded. "Yes." There was no anger in her voice, no satisfaction, just truth. Aderin sank slowly into her chair. Her hands trembled, not visibly. "I didn't recognize you," she whispered, as though that confession mattered. "That's understandable,"
Lami replied gently. I was a child then. The words cut deeper than any accusation could have. A child. Memories surfaced now, unfiltered. Early mornings, harsh words spoken casually, a small bag, a closed gate. Adarin swallowed hard. I thought, she paused, I thought you would manage somehow. Lami tilted her head slightly. I did. That was the cruelty of it. She had. Adarin's eyes filled before she could stop them. Tears, real ones this time, not the performative kind she had mastered over the years. I was wrong, she said, her voice breaking, about many things. Lami did not rush her. Silent stretched, not awkward, not heavy, just honest. I didn't come here to shame you or to remind you of who you are. Adarin looked up, confused. I came because you needed help, and I could give it. Why? Adarin asked, the question raw. After everything. Lami inhaled slowly. Because someone once helped me when they didn't have to, and it changed my life. Adarin lowered her head. Shame settled fully now. Not as punishment, but as understanding. I treated you differently, Adarin said quietly. I treated my children like children, and you like something else. Lami nodded. Yes. No softening, no denial. Just yes. I can't undo that, Adarin whispered. No, Lami agreed. But you can see it. That mattered more than apologies. Adarin wiped her face. Her pride, the thing she had guarded most fiercely, felt suddenly small, unnecessary. I'm sorry, she said. Not loudly, not dramatically, just sincerely. Lami accepted the words without ceremony. I know, she said. The world did not reset. The past did not disappear, but something shifted.
After the truth stood between them, nothing rushed forward. Life rarely does. Adarin did not suddenly become a different person overnight. Regret does not erase habit. Apologies do not rebuild character instantly. But something fundamental had shifted. Something irreversible. She had been seen. Not by society, not by friends, but by the one person whose opinion she could never outrun. Lami. The help continued, but now it came with honesty. Lami guided Adarin through what could be salvaged and what had to be let go.